Stand by, Miss Bey.
Good afternoon. My name is Maryam Bey, and welcome to Television. This is part 2 of my discussion with Larry Johnson regarding all the things that was happening in Newark in the 60s up to the 70s with Leroy Jones, Amiri Baraka. We talked about the Spirit House, Sterling Street, 33 Sterling Street. Yeah. And I'm remembering when I said to you earlier, growing up, because I grew up during that time as well. Mm-hmm. So growing up, it was such a period of learning about or seeing strong black men and women, out there fighting for our rights and everything, for our civil rights. So seeing people like Malcolm X, seeing people like Martin Luther King, H. Rap Brown, Miriam Makeba, folks like that, Leroy Jones, those people during that time, those brothers and sisters, the Black Panthers, they were doing such powerful stuff. Yes. That today we don't seem to have those kinds of people the way that we did when we were growing up in the 60s and 70s, because the times were different. I'm not saying that we don't have people like that, but on a regular basis, people were out in the streets. Black folks was out in the streets. They were starting their own schools, their own freedom schools. Right. We were supporting each other as families. If you got into trouble and you told Miss Bey, then once Miss Bey took care of you, then I'm going to take care of you. That's right. So it was those things were real. Right. And so as a result of that, we developed strong men and women. Yeah. So hearing you talk about your experience with Leroy Jones, it just kind of reminds me of all the things that was happening during that time. Like I said, I love the Black Panthers and what they stood for. Right. We had the Nation of Islam. Right. Brothers and sisters who were in prison, they came home, they built the community. And, so we were blessed during that period. So now when you mentioned that you went to Africa, because I just have to just go back there, that you went to Africa twice under Amiri Baraka before you graduated from high school. Yeah. And so then you were saying earlier, we were talking about the different versions of your book. It's a trilogy, right? Trilogy. Okay. Yeah, trilogy. It's going to be three different parts. So it's going to be 3 different parts. Yeah. So I want to get to the part where you were talking about Leroy Jones was arrested because that was when the riot started, and Amina had to go down to get him out.
Right, she went to go find out where he was.
Find out where he was.
You gotta remember to look at the scene at that time.
Yes.
Was the rebellion, but we was kids, we didn't know. When that happened, and she came down. I'm a kid. She's dealing with my mother, okay, to watch her son. Yes. And the guard's papers. But then at night, we at the bottom of the hill of Stone Street during the riots. They had a tank parked there.
Yes. Okay.
The tank blocked off the street, and that night they went up in there to the Spirit House a few times and kicked the door in.
Yes.
Okay, and but we had to sleep on the floor because of the shooting. Okay, and I remember me and a friend, Damu. He was the blood. Damu means the blood. He was the first blood before there ever was bloods.
Okay.
His name Damu. He lives in Chicago now. He's a very strong businessman, very successful businessman now. And he came and knocked on my window during the riots and says, "Hey," because we wanted to go on Springfield Avenue and see what was going on.
Yeah.
So I snuck out of the house with him and we ran up Sterling Street to go. Because they had a curfew, you wasn't supposed to be out there. But we wanted to see what all the excitement was.
Right.
And we ran up there to see, and we saw all those people from like the projects. Because I remember growing up where Leroy would talk about between that Scudder Homes,
yes,
Hayes Home,
right.
All those projects was within 1 square mile. There was 20,000 people who lived within that 1 square mile.
Wow.
Of that area.
And a lot of them are gone now.
Yes.
I mean,
well,
that's
those
gone.
buildings are gone.
The buildings and everything.
Yeah.
Right.
But during that time was to see those people who was out there on that street. And it was like a lot of people in that city. But then there was a lot of people also before that period. Like Sterling Street was a kind of mixture of different types of people. Mm-hmm. There was business on Sterling Street. There was Father's Divine, had beautiful buildings on Sterling Street. We as kids used to watch the cars drive up with limos and what we would call the peace ladies. We would sit on a porch and wanted to open the door for them to go into the building. They was dressed in all white and driving the limos.
Yes, right.
You understand? So we used to watch that. And the buildings were two of the most beautiful buildings on that street. But then you had a business right next door. Mm-hmm. Like you had number 33, you had number 32, and right next door was a business that some kind of trucking business that would go in and out with trucks on that street. You know, and you had stores at the other end, and then you had 1 family, 2 family, and 3 family homes there. And so as the migration of black people coming into the city and moving into that area, it became a working class community of black people who was transforming that whole area. And so by that time when 1967 happened,
yes,
you know, and we was little kids.
That's when I came to Newark, as a matter of fact.
In 67?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we were sleeping on the floor then, and we would run up the Springfield Avenue at night to just see what was going on, and they had these big state troopers out there.
Yeah, I remember that. Yes.
Yeah. And but they was focused on Sterling Street because, you know, it was a very famous man who lived there, you know, at that time. And I remember
Who was the famous man?
Leroy Jones.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about somebody else. Okay.
Oh, no.
Okay.
No. We still on the same person.
Okay.
But I remember the morning of the next morning when we would deliver, we had a newspaper out.
Yes.
And we opened the front page showed this picture of you know, the person that we had grown to know sitting in a wheelchair.
Oh.
You know.
Leroy Jones.
Leroy Jones.
Right.
You know,
okay.
we was like, oh man, we as kids was really hurt.
Right.
You know, to see that.
Right.
And that started to shape us even more, be determined to, when he came home. It was so joyous to see him home.
Right.
But he never changed in terms of his focus on what he was doing, whether it was his writing, whether it was the plays. You know, like when we would have, like, during that period in the Spirit House, Sunrise would bring a band in there. Yeah. And it would be like 50 pieces. And when they hit a note, it would like go all the way down the street from inside the house. It was phenomenal time. So you would have to pay attention and want to be over there. It draws you to that energy, you know. And there was a play going on, like they would show the Dutchman, you know. Wow. Then we learned how to run the projector, you know. You had responsibility. Right. You know, we was taught responsibility as kids, you know. And later on, some of us, at least I did, I got involved. We had karate classes in there. That's when I really started getting into the martial arts, you know, because I was taking them in the Spirit House. Right. You know, I have a picture going to be in the book showing me taking martial arts class with my brother and one of the people next door. See, number 33 Sterling Street, where the Spirit House was, before Leroy moved there, I lived at number 35, which was next door. Okay. But because my mother could not afford to stay in that big one-family house by herself with 4 kids, she had all of us take the furniture piece by piece down the street to another building, number 24. Oh, okay. And then immediately a family from North Carolina moved into that building. Okay, and then, you know, we lived at number 24. So the main houses that was focused was 24, 33, which was the Spirit House, number 32, which was the Slade family, and number 44, I believe, was the Stokes family.
Okay.
You know, and then there was the boys' families, J.B. Milton. There was always a lot of boys on that block, you know, growing up at that time.
There was a lot of activity going on that block.
There was a lot of activity, from the Play Street to what we had, something that Leroy had did, like a winger wagon, where he would bring in, and we would have, like, in the summertime, where you would have it's like a stage.
Okay.
But it's a big, like, winger wagon, but you could mobily move it.
Okay.
You know, and he would move it, and we would have out on the street. Like, I was just talking to my sister and reflecting. She says, do you remember the first, like, it was like a picnic on that street where all the mothers cooked and brought food. And, you know, everybody have a different perspective of what they remember.
Right.
And my sister says, yeah, I remember that, you know, I don't, but she said she does, you know, but I know there was so much activity going on, you know, and even to the point, you know, from that period, there was a period where in Marcus Garvey Elementary School.
Yes.
And Leroy and Amina had developed a actual program that was actually in the school. And at that time, Eugene Campbell was the principal at Robert Tree, who later on became
the superintendent.
So
I used to fight with him all the time when I go to board meetings.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, but that was, you know, and I went to Robert Tree, you know, and, you know, and talking to Amina and stuff, how all of us was all within that area, because Howard Street, Sterling Street ran into Howard Street.
Oh, okay.
Howard Street is the book by Booby Herb, the Nathan Herb, was dealing with that part of the street, and we was connected, you know, right there to Sterling Street. You know?
Well, now, I noticed, because after I talked to you about Sterling Street, it no longer exists.
No.
And so where did it go? Do you know?
Yeah, the courthouse. See, when you go down High Street, where Sterling Street was, it was right where the courthouse is now. It's a parking lot. So if you go to the Hall of Records, which is, I think it used to be High Street, but it's called Martin Luther King.
Yes.
Right. Well, right there, if you know where the statue of Abraham Lincoln is, sits. If you look right behind his back all the way up, that's where Sterling Street was.
Whoa.
Okay? And right where the parking lot where the Hall of Records is in that courthouse, Sterling Street was right between there that ran up into Howard Street. But they've torn that down. That's why it's so important.
But that's historical, though.
Yes, but it's not there. So that's why it's important that I feel that I need to document and write this because people say that it never was there.
Right.
You know, it never existed. You know,
because I spoke at the council meeting last week. As a matter of fact, last Wednesday.
Okay.
And I was going to mention Sterling Street, right? Okay. But then I said no because I didn't have enough information on it.
Okay.
Because when I think about things that are historic, you're not supposed to like destroy certain things that are historic like that. And Sterling Street, the Spirit House, that was part of a time in Newark that began the transformation of the city of Newark.
Yes.
And you had so many people who were coming into Newark because of the Sterling House, because of the Spirit House.
Yes.
Because of the committee to Committee Unified.
Committee for Unified Newark.
Committee for Unified Newark. Because of all that was going on.
Right.
Now that's our history. Now I think if it had been some other color, some people of another color, that probably would not have been destroyed the way that it is right now, because having the monuments are like the Sterling House could have been a monument of what happened during that time because of all the things that was going on during that time.
Yeah, if you
so what will we do now? Now since it's gone, how?
Well, the thing is, that's why you have to document it and record it for history for other generations to see that it really was there. Because if you don't document it, if you don't say what was there, then the powers that be will say no, it never existed.
Because couldn't the museum get involved with this as well?
They could, and that's a testament to what will be in the future.
Right.
Like Sterling Street, there's a picture that was presented to Ken Gibson's family that shows him holding Raz. I don't know if you've seen that picture.
I saw that, yes.
Well, Raz was born on Sterling Street. Ken Gibson came on Sterling Street. Yes.
He was born on Sterling Street?
Yes, Raz was born on Sterling Street. Okay?
That is interesting.
And Ken Gibson, who became the mayor. So when you're looking at that, you're looking at the future.
Yes.
And you're looking at the past. So
right.
It was very powerful. And when Raz was born, we always knew he was, at least I did, and a lot of other people, it was something special about him.
Mm-hmm.
And he has really done a beautiful job in terms of, fulfilling something that we started. Taking it, and that generation is taking it to the next level.
Like it's passing the baton.
It's passing the baton.
Right. Okay. And that's what now. So you're bringing me into what I wanted us to talk about. What happened with the committee
for Unified
Newark.
Right.
Because during that time, they were responsible for the brothers and sisters who were part of that. And Amiri, now he's Amiri Baraka, making it possible for us to have our first black mayor, Ken Gibson.
Right. Mm-hmm. And well, what happened was the Spirit House started to expand, and it was traveling. And what happened was in '68, I think it was it '68 when Gibson lost the first time they had the Peace and Power campaign? And what happened was Baraka started expanding. He moved. He was in the Spirit House, but he moved down the hill to High Street to number 5.
Yeah, right there on the corner.
Right there on the corner.
Yes, that's where the Catholic Church. I mean the boys' school. I forget the name of that school.
There's St. Benedict's.
St. Benedict's. That's right.
Arts High School.
Yes,
right down there.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we was right on the corner.
You're right on the corner. I remember.
Yeah, right on the corner.
Yes.
We had a bookstore, African bookstore, right there on the corner.
Right.
During that period of time, and but the thing was, C-Fund, the Committee for Unified Newark, had started to expand, and at that period, I was entering high school, and there were certain people who was doing security for the organization, and because that didn't work out, I started being the person in charge of security at a young age. I was in charge of all the security for the C-Fund.
Right.
And I started to be more responsible because I had started to learn the martial arts.
Okay.
And then I started to provide security for that family, security for Baraka, for all the events.
Right.
And what happened was it started to expand at that point politically because a lot of people came into Newark. A lot of college students came to help Gibson win that election to make sure that he would succeed at that. And there were some brilliant people that I want to talk about during that period.
Go ahead.
Like who was community organizers.
Right.
Like a guy named Talamu. Some of them they call them slave name. I might not remember.
Right. Okay.
Talamu, Ilimu, Teule. Some people out there gonna know who these people are.
Yes.
These was the Ilimu. These was community organizers who was a part of the organization, who went out into the community and did door-to-door organizing all the way down to the district level. Okay, to all the senior citizens building. There was so many areas, and we was highly disciplined. Right. That we was focused on.
Yeah, during that time, all of the black organizations were very disciplined.
Very disciplined.
Very intelligent. Right. Very smart. Very strategic.
Exactly.
Yes.
But the one reason why that we, I think, never lost, unfortunately, there was so many other organizations who lost members through violence. is that we always we took a defensive mode, but we was always in an offensive mode. But we knew in reality you had to always defend yourself.
Right.
But if you attacked us, you had a problem.
Right.
Because we was ready. So my point is, morally, you have a right to defend yourself.
Right.
As a human being, and we looked at that.
Right.
And we never lost nobody because we always took that posture.
Right.
You understand? That we always had a defensive mode, and we studied Sun Tzu.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Who talks about winning without fighting?
Yes.
You understand? And then those who think you can't go up against, this kind of upside down civilization we live in, and think you're gonna win. You can't in that way. And we knew that. Right. And that's why we never put our people in harm's way, because we always took a defensive mode. But we was also in a position, if you attacked us, we knew how to defend ourselves,
right.
From an offensive mode.
Right.
So that was under the leadership of Amiri Baraka at that point. He was a brilliant person at that, and we still have all the different. When we got into C Fund, there was expanded other chapters started to grow around the country.
Oh, okay.
From C Fund, and then it was expansion of CAP.
Okay.
Which became the Congress of African People.
Oh.
And then the Congress of African People had the Black Assembly.
Right.
Okay, and that Black Assembly was where they brought together, and during Black History Month, you probably see clips of that on the news.
Yes.
Where Baraka's speaking, but that was all orchestrated mainly by Amiri, understand, who helped pull all that together, and that is the vehicle that put most of the black politicians in office that you see today.
Wow.
From that period, and that was in Gary, Indiana.
Okay.
But we provided security for that. And then we provided, at least I was in charge of the security during that period for all the big name entertainers came for Gibson. Whether it was James Brown or, Sylvester Stallone at the place downtown Newark. I'm trying to think of what he had.
What, the Lowe's Theater?
No, the Symphony Hall.
Symphony Hall, oh, okay.
We used to have all the big shows down there.
Okay.
At Symphony Hall, during that period of time. And we would provide all the security, for them. And we had developed an organization of what we call SEMBAs at that time, who was about maybe, I would say we had a good 150 brothers, you understand, who was highly disciplined, and who some of them was senior, and most of the guys I was in charge of was 10 to 15 years my senior.
Wow.
So, it was a good time to learn and expand, and then a lot of the women was key during that period of time.
Yeah, I was going to get into that.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to talk about,
yeah.
Amina's role, with the women and everything, yes.
Oh, yeah, that period was, those women was, when I hear the word woman, that shows me that they're so versatile.
Yeah, yes,
those women who could do almost anything. Like, one of them is my editor down in North Carolina, who was a part of that. Mm-hmm. You understand?
Wow.
And some of them went on to have accomplished things in life. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not gonna say everybody gonna have the same perspective, because some people,
I got it.
Some people gonna be like, "Hey, I'm glad I got out of that," or whatever.
Oh no.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
it's always that.
Yeah, but the majority
yes.
of those women was from phenomenal women. When it came, like, you talk about a nursery, like during that period of time, Amina and them had developed a state of an art nursery during that expansion.
For children.
For children, yeah.
Right. Okay.
But it was mainly most of the children within that C Fund organization.
Okay.
And
right.
there was a certain kind of a diet that went on with that, and it was a beautiful thing, because in order to free up the women to do the work in the organization, because you got to remember that this organization went on 24/7.
Right.
For a good 10 years. When I say 24/7, I'm talking about training physically, to having meetings, to having classes. You know, within that C-Fund period, we had lectures from a lot of, like, John Henry Clark.
Oh, wow.
You
Remember John Henry Clark? Yes.
Yeah, you know, who would come and lecture us. There was a lot of other people I can't even think of right now.
Well, we're going to have to put a period in that, because I was just given, you see how time really flies? It's like, wow.
Oh, that's it?
You just thought, this is it.
Okay.
Yes. So, but the name of your book will be?
Sterling Street Trilogy.
Sterling Street Trilogy.
Right, and it's going to be the guardian spirits, the mothers of Sterling Street. Okay. It's going to be on the inside. And it's going to feature those women. It's going to be show the migrant period.
Right.
This is all before 1965. The
right.
other book going to get into some of the things I told you about.
Right.
And it's going to be talking about a lot of stories, a lot of childhood stories that went on.
Okay.
You know.
So, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I don't want us to get cut out and everything. Mm-hmm. I want to thank you for coming on. I mean, the information that you've given us has just been so profound to me. Wow, you know, we have to know our history. Our history is very important.
Yes.
And in Newark has a great history.
Yes.
You know, as far as the progress and the transformation of our people.
Yes.
That needs to be told. Thank you for coming on to tell it. My name is Maryam Bey. I'm the host for television, and thank you very much, and have a great day.